Hello and welcome. In today's video, we'll be exploring the relationship between the Montessori approach to teaching and learning and child development. Specifically, we'll be looking at the relationship between the lower elementary classroom and development in middle childhood, both of which span the approximate ages of 6 to 11. The purpose of this video is to educate individuals on both Montessori and child development, as well as to demonstrate a clear connection between the two. So without further ado, this is Montessori in Middle Childhood, how the lower elementary classroom supports child development. Before we dig into the relationship between Montessori and child development, we should first establish what the Montessori environment actually is. Dr. Maria Montessori was a pioneer in late 19th and early 20th century education, challenging educational ideals of the time and proving time and again that young children were not only highly capable, but highly motivated towards particular learning based on their age. Dr. Montessori's work has changed the landscape of modern education, and Montessori schools can now be found all over the world. Each Montessori environment is unique, yet you can always find some commonalities. First, a Montessori classroom will always follow the child. This provides opportunities for children to explore personal interests, but also ensures that each child receives the right instruction at the right time. Secondly, you will rarely find assigned seats in a Montessori classroom. Instead, children are encouraged to move about the space freely, finding not only the work that they need, but also the best place to do it. Finally, collaborative learning can be seen in any Montessori classroom. Children are encouraged to work together and oftentimes prefer this over working alone. Now that we've established what constitutes a Montessori environment, let's get into the child development side of things. Child development is a field of study devoted to understanding constancy and change from conception through adolescence, as stated by Burke in 2022. For this video, we'll just be looking at middle childhood, or the ages of 6 to 11. However, Montessori practice can be seen in all stages of child development. Burke also stated that development is often divided into three broad domains: physical, cognitive, and emotional and social. We'll be taking a look at each of these in just a moment, looking not only at what each area includes, but also how the Montessori classroom meets each of those needs. In short, the lower elementary classroom meets not only the academic needs of children ages 6 to 9, but the developmental needs as well. It should be noted that middle childhood includes children ages 6 to 11. The lower elementary classroom only includes children ages 6 to 9, but all aspects of middle childhood development can still be seen. During this time period, children show development in 4 key areas: physical, cognitive, social, and emotional. While each of these areas is unique, there is often overlap, and development in one area may directly affect another. Let's take a closer look at these key areas, as well as what you can expect to see from a child in this stage. Children continue to develop physically throughout middle childhood, most notably in terms of height. Children also make great strides in terms of both gross and fine motor development. Agility, flexibility, balance, and force all improve greatly during this time. Handwriting becomes clearer and more legible, and general coordination of movements can be observed. Interestingly, girls often surpass boys in terms of physical development during this period. However, this does not last into late childhood. Put simply, the skills learned in early childhood, such as walking, running, or manipulating objects, are refined and improved during middle childhood. Next, we'll take a look at cognitive development. Significant brain development occurs in middle childhood due to an increase in interconnectivity among various regions of the brain, leading to better executive functioning. Due to this increase in executive function, children in middle childhood are able to tackle more cognitively rigorous tasks. These are often academic in nature. However, it is also during this time that children begin to develop personal interests. It is important to note that while cognitive development is most often reflected in academic achievement, it is not the only measure of cognitive development. Children with learning disabilities, for example, may have extremely high cognitive function, but are unable to demonstrate it in certain contexts. Additionally, some children may be developing typically, but are gifted in athletics or the arts, subjects not typically assessed. Therefore, their development may not be as obvious as a child who is skilled in academics. Now we'll take a look at social development. Children in middle childhood are becoming increasingly aware of and dependent on social relationships, particularly in the classroom. By the time they leave middle childhood, most children prefer group work and activities over being alone. Peer relationships become more solidified, and children develop a strong sense of morality, justice, and social order. Social groups are often built around areas of shared interest in this stage, and may develop naturally or with adult direction, such as through themed clubs or after-school activities. Finally, we'll look at emotional development. During middle childhood, children develop a sense of self-awareness that fuels emotional development. Children are also better able to identify and communicate their feelings. Children experience mixed emotions for the first time and express a deeper complexity of feeling than in early childhood. This is also the time that children learn to regulate and manage their emotions. Children's ability to regulate their emotions is largely dependent on caregiver reactions, and children who didn't see appropriate emotional regulation modeled in early childhood will likely struggle with emotional regulation in middle childhood. These children benefit from direct, explicit instruction in emotional naming, as well as strategies to help them cope with the complex emotions they are now experiencing. Now that we've established what a Montessori environment includes, as well as defined child development, and detailed what to expect from a typically developing child in middle childhood, all that remains is to discuss how the Montessori environment supports child development. Through opportunities to plan their work, complete it to mastery, and independently tidy and select their next work, the Montessori environment promotes the development of executive functioning skills. These are key to many of the other milestones reached in middle childhood, such as an increase in academic rigor and a deeper awareness of their body and how to use it. Additionally, the Montessori environment encourages personal responsibility, which in turn supports the development of appropriate emotional regulation and helps children to navigate social conflict. Children in middle childhood need opportunities to develop both their bodies and minds. These opportunities for growth are what allow children to develop typically, as well as to hone skills they had previously learned in early childhood. The lower elementary classroom offers children those opportunities through independence and personal choice and fulfillment. By doing so, the Montessori lower elementary classroom directly supports healthy child development. I would like to take a moment to recognize the importance of Montessori materials in supporting healthy development. Montessori materials are specially designed, hands-on, and designed to promote cognitive development. By using hands-on materials, deeper connections are made in children's brains. The interconnectivity previously discussed relies on these connections, and Montessori materials are designed from a psychological standpoint to help support the making of these connections. Although Montessori is much more than just the materials, I would be remiss in not making a note of their role in supporting child development. In conclusion, children require support to develop in a typical fashion. The Montessori method provides that support through structured activities and an emphasis on personal responsibility. Children also crave social interactions in middle childhood, and the Montessori classroom meets that need through flexible seating, collaborative learning, and offering work based around student interests. Finally, it is important to remember that children are unique. Each child develops differently and at their own pace. The Montessori classroom allows each child to develop in their own time, providing appropriate instruction when needed, and giving a child time and space to practice their work to mastery. This practice of following the child not only requires respect of the child as the master of his or her own person, but also allows us as educators to see the development of the child in real time and support it with appropriate activities as needed. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my presentation, and I hope you leave with a deeper understanding of how the Montessori environment supports appropriate child development. For more information, as well as to see where I found my information, please see the sources listed here. Thank you.